I used to be one of those people who had it all planned out. I wanted to get engaged at 27, get married at 28, and have my first kid at 29, maybe 30. I wanted to live in a picture-perfect, medium-sized house, or at least a bigger apartment while the kids were still small, and be successful in my career, whatever the hell that means. My reality looks very different. I'm 28, going on 29, and I've been single for almost 4 years now. I spent nearly the first half of my 20s with someone completely incompatible with me, and deep down I knew long before the breakup that my grand plans of marriage, kids, life weren't going to happen with that person. I still remember the panic in his eyes when I carefully asked him towards the end of our relationship if he ever thought about these topics at all. Not even specifically with me, but in general. Of course he didn't, but he knew pretty well that I did all these years. There are a million other reasons why this relationship ended, but let's get back to the story. I never once regretted my part of the breakup, but not gonna lie, it was a tough time. My dream of getting together with the person I'm going to marry early in life and sharing young adulthood onward with each other had been crushed. And the fact that it was quite an unhealthy dynamic, to put it lightly, didn't make it easier, but somehow even harder. But I was not even 25 yet, so I could just process everything really quick and find quote unquote the love of my life in a few months. Right? Well, that's not what happened. Less than half a year later, I realized that I actually like being single, which was a bit of a shock to my system, to say the least. I had been single for more than 2 years before, but in my mind, being single in your late teens was a pretty different game than being single in your mid-20s. And I still stand by that. None of my friends got married super young, and many took their time with big milestones like moving in together, but that doesn't stop the societal pressure and the comparison game called social media. Still, I remember telling a friend of mine that if I had the chance to get with quote unquote the love of my life right now, I would want to wait. I was a single adult for the first time in my life, and I didn't want to rush that chapter. Fast forward to today, I don't wait at all anymore. I'm not against romantic relationships by any means, and I think I'd still like to get married if I meet quote-unquote the right person. Side note, product of my first year as a single Pringle was realizing that quote-unquote the right person could definitely be a woman for me. But let's unpack that at another time. What I was trying to say is, if I never find myself in a committed romantic relationship ever again, that's fine by me too. In fact, I live as if I knew I'd stay single forever. It makes mid and long-term planning a lot easier than if I had to calculate an imaginary person in who may or may not exist. And if life surprises me, I can always adjust my plans, which I'm sure I'd inevitably do either way, again and again. My younger self would be pretty upset about ending up alone. But to be honest, I've been single during most of the best times of my life. Singlehood is not a waiting room, and life is happening now. As for my initial plans of having kids, the biggest plot twist of my 20s, alongside my queer awakening, was the sudden realization at 27 that I don't want kids. Neither now, nor in my mid to late 30s. Me, the girl who loved playing with dolls and started writing baby name lists in elementary school. And the thing is, this change of mind was not the result of a traumatic or otherwise significant event. I just realized that my strong desire for freedom doesn't pair well with parenthood on so many levels. People say that I'm too young to be certain about it and that I might change my mind. Maybe they're right, but funnily, never once has anyone said that to me between the ages of, let's say, 4 and 27, when I was convinced that I wanted kids. Not surprising, I guess, but just something to think about. So here I am at 28, all by myself, sitting in my 35 square meter apartment. Living in such a tiny space was never the plan, but I love how cozy it is, and the layout makes it look and feel a little bit bigger. At the same time, it forces me to not accumulate crap I don't need, and the biggest bonus of it all, it saves me a lot of money on rent. Consequently, I don't need a full-time job to sustain myself. I work part-time for no other reason than that I value my leisure time more than a surplus of money. Oh, and I have zero interest in climbing the corporate ladder. This is obviously a privileged situation, but it's possible for me because of my affordable day-to-day lifestyle and the fact that I only have one mouth to feed. I've also never owned a car, so there's another financial burden that I don't have to deal with. I can't claim that I've always been great with money, but I've been getting a lot better, and I even dipped my toe into frugalism, which I actually find quite satisfying and is something I want to explore further. What I do like to spend money on, however, is traveling. I know it sounds cliche, but it gives me so much more than material possessions. So, as long as I'm able to, it will always be a huge priority of mine, no matter if someone joins me or not. I've already made a video about solo traveling, which I'll link below. Now that you have a bit of a rough overview about my position in life, I want to sum up my feelings about it. First of all, my image of what I thought the life of a 28-year-old would look like doesn't match my experience. I feel a lot younger than I am. And yes, my perpetually single and child-free status, as well as the fact that I had a late career start, contributes to that. But when I talk to friends and acquaintances my age who live completely different lives, pretty much everyone feels that way to some extent. The ones in decade-long relationships, the ones who have kids, the ones with perfect resumes. Of course, their lives are still more desirable by societal standards, but I've been getting a lot better at distinguishing between what is expected of me versus what I want. My life is not perfect, and 2025 is my hardest year yet. There are things I wish I could change but can't, and others I'm working on. I'm anxious about turning 30 next year, because I feel like there's still a very specific puzzle piece missing that I can only find now or never. But being single and child-free has nothing to do with any of it.